Welcome to DCPC Live presents Scene Support, the podcast that spotlights the people behind the scenes who keep DIY and underground music alive. From the bookers and sound techs to the zine writers and venue operators, we're here to give credit where it's long overdue. I'm your host, Scott Pasch, founder of DCPC Live, a DIY record label putting out short-run vinyl of live punk, hardcore, ska, and metal shows. After decades in bands behind the scenes, I know the work it takes to keep a scene going, and today's guest is one of those people doing that work week in and week out. Today I'm talking with Peter Aaron, music editor of the Chronogram magazine and frontman of the legendary New York punk blues band the Chrome Cranks. Peter's been deeply rooted in the underground music for decades. His writing has appeared in the Village Voice, the Boston Herald, AllMusic, All About Jazz. Back in the 80s, he was booking early shows for bands like Nirvana, The Flaming Lips, and White Zombie before they became household names. I first met Peter shortly after moving to the Hudson Valley at Chronogram event at the Colony in Woodstock. The meeting was brief but consequential. We immediately connected over our shared love of bands like the seminal 80s hardcore band, Gangrene, and Florida legends No Fraud. I'd seen No Fraud several times and even played a show with them before relocating to New York. So it felt like finding a kindred spirit in a New York scene. And beyond his work as an editor, musician, and scene supporter, Peter is also an accomplished author. His books included his newest book, Moving in Stereo, Rick Ocasek, The Driving Force of the Cars, the band FAQ, If You Like the Ramones, and his collaboration on I Know Better Now with Richie Ramone show the same deep curiosity, musical insight, and cultural excavation that define his writing. And while our focus today is on scene support, I'd be remiss not to point out that he also rips in a new punk band called the Stabbing Jabs that I really want to have come play a show someday. So I'm stoked to dig into his long history in punk rock and hear what he has to say about the music scene abroad and around and in the Hudson Valley. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing great. Scott, thank you so much for having me on. And we have a special guest. Misty is here with us now.
Should we see Misty? Where's Misty? Hey, Misty, how you doing?
Misty is running the scene here.
Running the scene. So last time I saw you was actually at the Cro-Mags Harley documentary.
Yeah, boy, what a night that was, right?
It was such a great night. Yeah, it was so fabulous.
Incredible movie, man. Just, I'm still, it's still blown away by that movie.
I was like a kid sitting there in the front row with Harley just like that close and listening to you ask all those questions. I'm like, man, this is just freaking awesome. What a great experience. How did you pull that off?
I don't know. It just happened. I mean, the Orpheum asked me if I would do it, and I was totally eager to do it. I knew I hadn't seen the documentary yet, which is called Wired for Chaos. When they asked me to do it, but I knew a little bit about him. I knew he had a really interesting life, and then after seeing the documentary, I was all in. I just, was so excited to be a part of it.
It was great because I had read John Joseph's book a couple years ago. So just hearing the other perspective of the other, seminal member of the Cro-Mags, it was just very fascinating. And some of the friends that I brought, they were only like tangentially aware of the Cro-Mags, whereas like I grew up getting Age of Quarrel on a tape back in '92 is one of those things that like stands out in my mind of getting that tape and going, what is this? And then he put it on and hearing We Gotta Know, and I'm like, oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting for me, and I gotta say that when the Cro-Mags were happening, I had kind of, I was into different stuff that was going on. I wasn't so into that era of hardcore. I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, I guess, and I was kind of involved in the first wave, the initial waves of hardcore, and by the late, I had an awareness of the Stimulators. I knew that they were a Max's band, and they were on the New York Thrash cassette, so I knew that from there and from hearing their single on the radio. But by the time the Cro-Mags were happening, I was into what was going on then. I was into like the Butthole Surfers and
Fuck
Scratch
yeah.
Acid and kind of the more and Pussy Galore
Yep.
and Einstein and Neubahn and Sonic Youth, kind of the more like kind of noise, experimental kind of stuff that had come out of hardcore. So it was interesting for me to sort of catch up and connect with the importance of the Chromax to the era and the lineage of hardcore, just because I saw them back in that time.
Yeah.
I saw them when Harley first started singing the first tour, which was 1987.
Wow.
And and it was a powerful live show, but I didn't know the records really.
Sure.
I'd heard them, but I hadn't really paid attention so closely.
And it's fascinating you say that, right? Like, I do a fair amount of shows, and there used to be in my younger days, I would obsess over trying to like listen to all the bands I was going to go see beforehand. Yeah. And now I've really just gotten into going and seeing the show and being in the moment and not worrying about how much I'm aware of the song. Yeah. And yes, I mean, it's always fun to sing along. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
But there's something to be said about just going to a show and just letting it wash over you and just feeling it in that moment and not, the participation is just different. My participation is just like, oh, I'm just soaking it in.
Yeah, it's cool to just, kind of receive it without any, without any outside kind of, kind of baggage or framework, and just kind of accept something and first experience it on its own with no kind of attachments or anything that would influence your taking it in.
Yeah, because like every song is almost like a surprise that you don't know what you're going to get. Because like I have no idea what's coming next. I can look at the set list and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that feeling that of revelation is something that, if it's really good, it keeps you going back to their music, whatever band's music, and listening to it over and over again, and paying attention to when they do something new. But you'll never get back to that exact first moment.
Yes.
When you're first experiencing it,
Exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly.
the secret of what makes it good is if there's enough of sort of something that triggers a reminder of that, and there's also maybe something that's a layer that you hadn't noticed the first time through, and you wouldn't have been able to because you were taking in maybe something that's a little bit closer to the surface.
Yep. No, that makes sense. So how did you get your start, like, being part of music? Did you grow up in New York City? Is that where you're from?
I grew up in Morris County, New Jersey. In a town called Montville, and I was actually, my big bang with punk, which was the first music that I really connected with, because rock and roll before that I was exposed to, I sort of enjoyed, but more from a passive standpoint. It felt like, certainly with the classic rock groups that were, the generation before. It felt like big kids' music still. It felt like it didn't have much to do with me and my life at that time, and which we're talking like the late 70s.
Sure.
And so then I would read Cream magazine, and I would read about some of the punk stuff that was starting to happen, but the only radio stations I knew about were the commercial stations, and they weren't really playing it, But it would break through here and there, and then seeing Elvis Costello on Saturday Night Live in 1977 was my big bang.
Love Elvis Costello.
Yeah. That was kind of like, okay, well, this guy's like totally in the camera and in your face. This is the whole radio.
Yep.
Episode, and it was just like, well, this guy kind of looks like a average nerdy guy like me. I can relate to this.
Yes.
And then that was sort of the gateway to, like, after buying his stuff the next week, it was buying the Ramones and the Pistols and the Clash and the Devo and the Jam and everything, and then that was still like, it wasn't accessible to me. I wasn't old enough where I could go in and hang out in New York at that point. but we listened to WNYU, my crew and I in high school, which was like, two or three other guys. And that's where we started hearing the, Black Flag and the Circle Jerks and the, Bad Brains. And then we started sending away for the first, the Discord 7 inches out of the back of Trouser Press magazine, and buying those as they came out. And then, we had started a band, and we were trying to learn how to, play, doing Ramones songs.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden our music had to get really fast after that. Now, that was a band called Sand in the Face.
Okay.
Which was one of the first hardcore bands in New Jersey. And actually, we didn't even know that there were any other hardcore bands in New Jersey until we found out about, like, Adrenaline OD.
I love Adrenaline OD. They're such a good band.
Great band, important band. And then we found out, well, those guys are from New Jersey. And we started meeting other Jersey punks, but we would meet them when we went we'd take the bus into New York City to see shows, I mean, I went to the record release party for the first Bad Brains cassette at CBGB's.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was with Scream and Government Issue. It was both of their first shows in New York. And then, like my high school, our junior prom night, we all told our parents we were going to the prom, and we took the bus in and saw, who was Bad Brains, Minor Threat, and Double O at Irving Plaza.
Wow.
And, the Misfits, the record release for Walk Among Us at Irving Plaza, and Dead Kennedys at the Paramount Theater on Staten Island with SSD and DOA, who got added to take the place of Flipper, who dropped out, and Kraut. And that was the biggest hardcore show on the East Coast at that time. And then that was like, summer of, it was like 81. And then my dad got a job in Ohio in 1982 when I was like 16 into 17. And so a family moved out there. And so that, I had to leave Sand in the Face. And then out there, when I got out there, I found where the punk scene was, and I started meeting people. And then when I went to college, I ended up going to college from 83 to 85 in Boston. So I was there at a really great time for live music and punk stuff. Boston had a great, like, early punk tradition.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, there was the hardcore, all the Boston bands, Gangrene, who you mentioned earlier. And then after 2 years in college, I dropped out, and I got, between my freshman and sophomore year at college, I was back home in Cincinnati, and I played in this band Sluggo, which was the first hardcore band in Cincinnati. This is like 83, 84.
Was that name taken from that, was it a Saturday Night Live skit with, oh my God, the claymation doll? I was like, oh no, Sluggo!
Oh, that was Mr. Bill.
Yes, was that from Mr. Bill? Is that why you got the name Sluggo?
No, well, I didn't name the band, but it was, there was a comic strip, classic comic strip, Nancy and Sluggo.
Okay.
And I think it might have been from there. And there was also a poison pellets for garden slugs.
Okay.
A brand name called Sluggo. And I think maybe it was kind of a little bit of a nod to Black Flag from that, because Black Flag, part of the double meaning was with their name was, one was the Black Flag of Anarchy, and then also there was the bug poison, bug spray.
Yes, the roach killer. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was in Sluggo, and then I went and did my sophomore year in '85 in Boston, and then moved back to Ohio. And I had done a fanzine, and I started doing a radio show, and then through all of that, I got into booking shows. And this is, like mid to late '80s. So I booked a few different clubs in Cincinnati. You mentioned, like, Nirvana. I booked them on the first couple of tours.
Yeah.
Yeah, to like 30 people in a 75 capacity
I
room.
understand. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, White Zombie. The first couple tours, and Flaming Lips. I built them up in town to be from a small club to going on to like a big club level, and from there they just
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean it was pretty amazing time, and then around that time, in the middle of all that, about 1988. I started a band called the Chrome Cranks, who you also mentioned earlier,
Yep.
in Cincinnati.
I do my research.
Yeah, I know. Good job. Good. That's refreshing. Yeah, and then we moved to New York in 1992, and that's sort of when that whole era started. So, and the long and short of it, that's
And it's fascinating, right? Like all the bands you name, for the most part, were all the bands that I got into in '91 when I was 15 years old. Because in '91 there was still no internet, and I basically discovered punk rock for basically two reasons. One, I returned a Suicidal Tendencies record to the local store because my parents had bought it for me. I already owned it, so I didn't need another copy. And they gave me a Circle Jerks record, and I took it home, or a CD actually, and I put it in, and I was confused because the songs were just so short.
yeah,
And there weren't blazing guitar solos, there were leads. Like I just didn't understand it, and I was just like, "Huh, I'm just gonna put this aside for a second."
yeah,
And then I read some review in some zine I had seen where it was like, "Oh, this band sounds like Black Flag, Black Sabbath getting fucked by Black Flag." I was like, "I know Black Sabbath. Well, who the fuck is Black Flag?" So I went to the local record place in Fairfax, Virginia, Record Convergence, and I grabbed the first 4 years. I'm like, "Oh, it's got the same singer from the Circle Jerks." I'm like, "Okay."
right.
And then I bought a bunch of Anthrax tapes off a guy, and he had a bunch of Ramones tapes in there. So it's like, okay, like I was just getting all this,
Yeah,
and
it's all connected.
it's all connected. And it was at least a year before I realized that there were still active punk bands. Like I thought it was just a thing, like because every band I'm like, they're broken up, they're broken up, they're broken up. I was like, Dead Kennedy's broken up. Every time I found a band, I was like, they don't exist anymore. The adverts and so on and so on and so on. I was like, I'll never see punk bands. I guess I'm going to keep going to metal shows. And
Yeah,
then
well,
I
that's
finally
the thing.
figured it out.
Yeah, if you don't know the circuit, and there's not a lot of media outlets to find out about that kind of music at the time. So how else are you gonna? I mean, it's like, I mean, there was some college radio stations happening, that were playing the stuff when I was a teenager, but I didn't know about those stations until a little bit. I mean, I found out about them, after a little bit of time, but initially I was just only knew about like the commercial FM rock stations.
Yep. I had 98 Rock in Baltimore because I lived outside of DC. I was like, that was great. You had Iron Maiden, you had Motorhead, you had Metallica. It was exactly what it was. And then there was HFS, which did like Violent Femmes and things of that nature. Nothing I'm displeased with hearing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't until like I discovered Bad Religion and realized they ran their own record label. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like, and I figured out I was like, there are bands now actively playing, and I formed a band when I was 16, but I didn't know that there was going to be other bands. I literally thought I was like, oh, I'm going to form this band of music that no one else is doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's reason enough to do it.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start. Good incentive. Yeah.
So you went from booking, but then you turned into a writer. Like you're a professional writer now. How did you turn your experience with music into a career that allows you to still be who you are? Because that's the dream. I feel like in some ways.
Yeah, well, it's an ongoing challenge and an ongoing evolution, I guess. But
Yeah.
I mean, I when I was really young, school age, writing was something that came easy to me, and I started doing a fanzine, when I was in high school, and so I kind of, it was something that I was comfortable doing, and then after the Chrome Cranks, we ended up getting back together, and after some time had passed, but we broke up in 97, 98, And so I was just sort of like, well, what am I going to do now? What can I do? And it was like, well, I can write. I know, So
Yeah.
I took some sort of refresher college courses, and I took a copy editing and headline writing course.
Okay.
And part of that was that the internet was kind of starting to become an actual thing, and there was a lot of copy being generated, but there was a lot of websites and people that needed help as far as the editing end of things. So it kind of seemed like that would be a good way to get my foot in the door, and also get my foot in the door at a newspaper.
Okay.
So I ended up getting a job at a weekly newspaper in New Jersey. I was back living in Jersey at the time. I was in Bergen County, and I did that for a couple of years, and then my ex and I decided to move upstate, and we bought a house in Sardis, and sort of ahead of that, I kind of put my feelers out for getting a job up here. Ended up getting a job as a copy editor at the Daily Freeman.
Okay. Yeah.
So I did that, and I moved from the main copy desk over to the life section.
Okay.
And through there, the music columnists that they'd had left, and I ended up getting the job as music columnist. Did that for a couple years, and then this position for assistant editor opened up at Chronogram, and I ended up getting that.
Okay.
And then they knew that music was my thing, so they kind of rolled the music coverage into that position.
Okay.
After a few years, I started there in 2006, so next year will be my 20th year at Chronogram.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's I love it. But they ended up shuffling things around a little bit, and then I became they eliminated the assistant editor position and divided duties up differently, and then I became the arts editor. So that's what I am now. I'm not just the music editor. I'm the arts editor. So
Okay.
I deal with arts in general. So
And art's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it works out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how things happen, and then then the book stuff started to happen from there, and it goes on.
So I want to talk to you then about the Hudson Valley thing. You've been here 20 years, and when I moved up here, I was living in Florida for the last 15 years. 3 years ago, I moved up here to get my PhD, and part of my research, I came and toured the area. I needed to make sure that there was music here.
Sure.
And my family and I had come up on a hurricane evacuation, and we came up here, and I went to a show at the Avalon Lounge in Catskills. Met some people. One guy who was crazy nice, Ralph, who offered to give me a ride home when I couldn't get an Uber, who wound up being a bass player in a band I later joined.
Oh, wow.
And then my wife saw the ad for the O Positive Fest, and I'm like, oh, my buddy Andy in Sudami Bomb is playing. She's like, well, you're already coming up here later to interview at UAlbany. You might as well come up a couple of days early and hang out. Because she was just really liked the area. So I came up here. So when I first went into Snappers, and I was like, oh, this is a punk rock bar. There should be shows here all the damn time. If there's not, it's a shame. And I'm going to make it happen. So I moved here with that purpose. So, but when I moved here, I was told that Hudson Valley is a heavy hardcore town area. And, that's all you can do. And I was like, but is it? Yeah, you have folky Woodstock stuff and heavy hardcore. I was like, but what if I want to do other stuff? I bet people will come out. And I'm hoping I'm right. I'm still doing it. But, what is your perspective of the Hudson? Because I love the Hudson Valley scene.
Sure.
I feel more like a family here than anywhere I've ever been.
Yeah, I really love it. I feel really lucky to be here. One of the things I think the thing I love about it more than anything is it's so diverse.
Yes.
Yeah, and it also cuts, and that's one thing that really struck me when I first got here, is it cuts across genres. There's a lot of people that play they might play in punk bands, but they also play jazz. Or
Yes.
they also play, reggae
Or
or
noise or
noise.
EDM and
Yeah,
yeah.
Americana type stuff. I mean, and in New York City, I lived in the East Village when I was in New York in the '90s, and even there, like the scenes are very very not a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
People keep to themselves and stick within their circle of stylistic circle. There's not a lot of you don't get, and that's one thing that's just like, wow. If I'd stayed there, I was sort of been in this sort of like bubble, and wouldn't have experienced all these other styles and cross pollination that makes whatever you're doing better and more interesting.
It's so much more interesting if you go to a show and there's multiple things like, oh, there's a power pop band and there's a thrash metal band and a ska band. Like I love ska, but I'll go to like Buffalo Ska Fest or not Croydon Fest, and it's 3 days of just ska, and I love it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at some point, I'm wishing like, oh, I need something else.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the same way. It's like I gotta have some variety. It would just be too boring to be in the same pocket the
Yeah.
whole time. And it's also, I mean, that's what keeps things interesting, and it's all really different ways of doing the same thing. Anyway, it's all different ways of expressing the same human emotions and qualities. So. I think we're really lucky to have that here. It's interesting you say that hardcore because I don't think of, I mean, I think especially through what you've been doing those last couple of years, you've made the hardcore strata much stronger and
Thank you.
broadened it. Yeah, yeah. But for a long time, I kind of thought that I mean, obviously the area is known mainly for, I guess would say like probably Americana type folk based music is probably the
Yes.
biggest thing here. But Albany is the area that seemed to have like Albany the hardcore is strong. Like that is
Oh,
like
it's hard up there.
yeah,
Yep.
that's a fortress. I mean, it's a very much not identity that they should be proud of and
Yep.
it's but compared to
Albany
here.
style. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's compared to here, they've got it, and it's close enough that you can also be part of that scene as
Yep.
well.
And I've done some shows up there, and I've done some mixed bills, and it's worked well. And I think it's more like they were talking like the Poughkeepsie, right? Like that band I said I joined, Leave It Behind. It was like literally I was in the band for 3 weeks, and I played one of the Chance's last show.
Oh wow.
And apparently, like, and I was like, I didn't know what the Chance was. I grew up in DC, but I guess it's like the DC's 930 Club,
Very
right?
comparable to that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, and it was great, but I was like, oh yeah, this is where you would see Sick of It All and Madball and Agnostic Front and Cro-Mags. Like, this is where, and
Well,
even now I do.
I mean, there's the back of Ramones Road to Ruin. That picture of them was taken on the back behind the
No
chants.
shit.
Yeah, and that was Marky Ramone's first show with the band.
No shit.
Yeah, yeah, '78. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's a long. I mean, they would play there a lot. Bowie did a secret show there. Dylan did a secret show there. The police, the famous show there was the Police, like in '78, their first show, which was they played
Yeah.
CBs, but there was a big snowstorm, so like no one went to the chance, and there's all these people that say that they were there, but there was like maybe like not even 10 people
Sure.
at the door that night.
That's
So it's a
like
big
the
history. Yeah.
1995 Halloween show at the 930 Club mystery band. Then I got to see Nine Inch Nails at the old 930 Club.
Wow.
And 95, and we're talking it's a pretty small place.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
not
Yeah,
like the places now that's like really huge that can fit like 500 people. It was like, oh, if it's 120 people, tight.
yeah, yeah. It was the big kind of flagship venue, but really
Yeah.
wasn't that. I mean, it was not. The Chance is a bigger room, I
Oh,
think.
Chance was always bigger.
Yeah.
The 930
Yeah.
Club was always famous for what it did, but it wasn't huge by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it was the kind of where it was a good size, and you could, the room would look reasonably full,
Oh yeah,
even if it wasn't sold out.
big cinder block columns in your way, but it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Yeah. Those weird columns. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Played there once, and I remember that like the those columns like it was sort of distracting. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say distracting because I tend to be in the moment when I do that stuff. But anyway, they were there.
Yep. So, but back to like the chance, like I know it's like an entertainment arts thing now. It is my goal to convince them to let me do some big shows there because I know they're training people now to be like stagehands and lighting and sound. And I
Right?
would
Yeah.
love to like, hey, let me bring a show or two there. That is my goal. But they have like no contact information on their website. It's like
Yeah.
totally devoid of
Yeah,
contact
I'm kind of
information.
it's unclear what's going on there, other than that. Yeah, they want to. It's connected to like Broadway
Yep.
shows and stagecraft for stage
Because
building
I
for
went to
the.
their first opening burlesque show and I donated some money. I was like, I am all about supporting the arts. My daughters are in theater. I'm all about like building pockets of sound people and lighting people. Like that's great. We
Yeah,
need
yeah,
people like that because when they exist, it'll help
sure.
boost everything up.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, it all works together. Yeah, yeah.
And Poughkeepsie needs some boosting because Poughkeepsie has so much potential.
Yeah, I know. It's really been confusing. It's had so many false starts, and it's obviously got the infrastructure and great spaces there for that are perfect, and it's very accessible, being close to the thruway and the Metro North and everything. It seems like with the Dark Side Records opening the new location
Yep.
there, they just needed kind of an anchor business beyond the Bardavon to really make that area come back.
Yep.
There's been a lot of restaurants that have come and gone. Hopefully that will be it. Hopefully this
Hopefully,
will
because
be.
Dark Side looks great. I went there. They're upstairs. They have a great stage area for shows.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they do shows and Reason and Ruckus, those amazing all ages shows. I even did a show at King's Court with Henry Clooney from Stiff Little Fingers
All
a
right,
couple
yeah.
months
Another
ago.
one that
So
I had wanted to make it down to, but stuff got in the way.
it's all good. I mean, I think I unplugged his guitar for the last song because I finally decided it was time for me to get on stage and sing with him because,
Wow.
well,
Wow.
I'm the promoter. It's my right.
Yeah. I'm sure he was good with that. Right?
Oh, he was. He was. It was such a good time. I was like, they're one of my favorite bands, so I was like, I was so beyond stoked to be like, just to see him and meet him and talk to him a little bit, like, and just
Totally.
hear a little bit
Yeah.
of his stories. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, bring him back.
I will do what I can. I will do what I can. So, do you book shows anymore? Because you had mentioned, like, you used to book shows. Do you do that at all anymore?
No, not really. I mean, it's interesting because I moved to Saugerties in December 2003, and then I was there until like actually it was my November December 2010. I moved to Hudson, and I started moving. I started going up to Hudson because at that there wasn't much going on there. It was still a pretty you know, a lot of places still boarded up. It was nothing at all like it is now, which is it's like it's a country club kind of like mall, outdoor mall kind of for like wealthy weekenders now, a lot of it. But it was, it had an edge, and Spotty Dog Books was doing these noise shows.
Okay.
And so I was going up to those because, there wasn't, I mean, even Snappers was doing punk shows when I first moved to town, and then they stopped. And there was not, Kingston was still pretty boarded up uptown. This is before BSP,
Yep.
which was a venue that we lost a couple years ago in Kingston. And, I would, just to get out and see live music, I would end up going over to Woodstock, and usually it was something that was not very interesting. It was,
Ah,
you know, bar bands. It's
sure.
great. People are playing, and it's live music, and but my interest was not sustainable. Past a certain point, and I was going up to Hudson to see these lo-fi experimental noise shows.
Okay.
And living in Saugerties was basically a blue collar town. There was nothing like that going on in
Sure.
Saugerties,
Sure.
and not even in Kingston or Woodstock. And so I was going up there and I was meeting like 24-year-old kids who were into like Sonny Chirac and Ornette Coleman and stuff.
Fascinating.
That was not and I was like, all right, well, this is like a higher level of like cool,
Sure.
like deep digging, interesting people. So I ended up moving there because actually I could get a bigger place for less money.
Sure. Okay.
So I was there for. I ended up staying. I lived in that place until 2015, which is when the building got sold and I got priced out. And I got another place up there, and then was there for a couple of years and got a chance to get some money through family to put down on a house. And with the budget I had, Hudson was like way out of my price range. I would have had to live out near the strip mall or something, which I didn't, didn't want to do that. And then so I almost moved to Catskill. And at that time, there was nothing going on in Catskill. And I was like, why would I live in Catskill just to be close to Hudson? But I work at home. I can live anywhere. So then I didn't think I'd find any place in Kingston. And I ended up finding a place in Uptown, which was an area I didn't think I'd be able to afford. And it's 2016. And so it's actually worked out really well because it's very centrally located. And, you're more or less the same area.
I mean, I basically go an hour to Albany or Troy for shows.
Right, yeah.
40 minutes or whatever to Poughkeepsie, sometimes out to Middletown or whatnot, because they would have shows at like Quinn's Pens or the New Clemson Brewery or out to Beacon. But I've got to put on a couple more miles. When I lived in the DC area, I did drive to Baltimore and Richmond and stuff, but I just felt like I didn't drive nearly as often. I could drive like 30 minutes to a show.
Yeah. You gotta up here. You definitely gotta have wheels.
You gotta have some wheels up here. It's hard. It's hard.
But I'm used to when living in Cincinnati, especially when I first moved to town before I started doing shows, putting on shows myself. I mean, we would drive 2 hours to Columbus to see a show.
Yeah.
We would drive I remember driving 3 hours. We would drive 3 hours to Indianapolis, and I remember driving 3 hours to a town called Columbus, Indiana, which is in the middle of a cornfield, and to see DeCroix in the basement of a church. This was a tour for the Cows and Beers EP, their first 7-inch.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was them with Malignant Growth, who were like the legendary pioneering hardcore band from Louisville. And then the show was put on by Scott Colburn, who had a label called Gravel Voice. He was in a band called The Pattern. He was in a band called Killing Children. And he was, without him, there would have been nothing there, and then he ended up moving to Seattle and became a Grammy-winning audio engineer and had worked with the Sun City Girls and a lot of cool stuff. But yes, I mean, that's what you would do. You would do, so it's like, I'm used to the long drives for these shows.
So, living in DC, right outside in Northern Virginia, hop the metro. All the shows in DC were all ages. I was going to shows. So once I figured out that shows existed, I was going nonstop. 45-minute drive to Baltimore, 90-minute drive to Richmond. It was just shows were just everywhere. So, and everybody came to the DC area. When I moved to Florida, my bandmates were always like, "Oh, stop talking about what you've done or seen." I was like, "It's not my fault. I grew up in a Seminole hardcore area, and you grew up in friggin' nowhere, Florida. It's not my fault."
Yeah. Well, I mean, I experienced that growing up. Basically, the first part of my childhood outside in New York, like talking about before. But one thing I'll say is moving to Cincinnati and being, what hit me was being a punk somewhere like that meant more than being a punk in New York City. It's like you really had to be all in, and you had to make it happen, and you
Yep.
were taking your life in your hands, like walking. I mean, like I said, we drove through
Yeah.
farmland and cornfields
Yep.
to see shows, and stopping along the way, like, might as well have been from Mars,
Oh, I
and then,
remember on tour I played a town called Beaverdale, fucking Beaverdale, Pennsylvania, and right outside of like Pittsburgh, like an abandoned house show. They did illegal shows there, but there was only like one stoplight. The convenience store stayed open when there were shows. Mothers were showing up holding their babies. I mean, like you had to drive 20 minutes to go to Sheetz to get food. This is like in 2000.
wow,
But those were the best shows.
sure,
Like I
yeah,
would go on tour. I'd much rather play Harvard, Illinois, where they had the drugstore with all the milkmaids for the last 50 years in the window,
Huh.
than drive an hour and a half, north to play Chicago,
yeah,
where there's
yeah,
1,000 bands playing. Like you play the small towns. I think Black Flag said that, right? Like you play the shows where no one else goes,
yeah, yeah.
and everyone will show up because they have nothing else to do.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I know a little bit of that from touring Europe, because a lot of the shows would be, these youth clubs that were in, like, not in a city, that was kind of like in a rural area,
Yep.
and you just get there and do sound check and think, like, we're in the middle of nowhere, like, what the fuck are we playing here for? And then, time to go on, and the place will be packed. People will come from miles
Yeah.
around. I mean, and it also didn't help. It didn't hurt that a lot of those youth clubs in Europe, it's like the administrative bodies there, the governments like realize that well, we got to give kids something to do, or else
Yep.
they're going to get into drugs and stuff like that. So we'll subsidize these youth clubs, and I mean, obviously over here it's a lot of like you're on your own, and
Always. I
and
toured Europe and I tried to bring. I saw the exact same thing, whether it was
yeah,
Poland or Slovakia or Germany. It was the same thing. You were like, we're in the middle of nowhere, but I never had a disappointing show in like the 3.5 weeks that I was there. I thought it was amazing. They fed you every night.
oh yeah,
Sometimes
yeah,
they fed you breakfast in the morning. I'd get French presses of coffee with chocolates and cheese. And
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, what
yeah.
is this?
Ella. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
now I try and feed all the bands. I try and bring that idea back. But when I was before I moved here, there was a place in Northern Virginia, a town called Vienna. There was a teen center I did shows at, but I could only do like maybe 2 or 3 a year. But they were 18 and under.
Oh wow, yeah, that's
But I
great.
brought like Two Man Advantage down there to play a show, so I would have like real bands, like real quality bands. But unless you were in a band, you had to be 18 and under to get in. But I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
pack the place.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, I mean, it's a community service besides
Yeah.
being a service to rock and roll too. So need to have more of that for sure.
I mean, that's always been my biggest thing, like the all ages venues. Like right now, off the top of my head, I can only think of three. No Fun in Troy, which I love,
I love that place. Yeah, great club.
so great.
Yeah.
Unicorn Bar in Kingston.
Hmm.
I don't do that many shows there. We have to kind of align on what they would like to do, but they're very kind to me. And
Yeah.
then Reason and Ruckus in Poughkeepsie.
Right, right. Which I still haven't been to that one.
Oh, you should really get out there. Like
Yeah.
it's because you do the art stuff too. Because like one of the owners, Ovid, used to run an art gallery, so there's
Okay.
lots of art there. And the owners are very kind, and they use my sound guy for 90% of their shows, so it sounds good.
Okay.
Des
Yeah, I got to.
Des is great.
Okay, I got to get on their mailing list so I know what's up.
Yeah, yeah. But like beyond that, like Holly from Outsider Magazine does those all ages VFW hall still shows out all the way out of New Windsor. But I'm
Uh-huh.
like, man, it's hard. Like I love the Snapper shows. I love
Yeah,
doing shows at Night Swim.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
always kills me to not have all ages.
Yeah, well, so when I first moved to the area, it's interesting. Part of what got me interested in moving to the area was there was a venue right at the corner of in the Kingston Stockade, right at the corner of Wall Street and Front Street. I don't know what it's it was Uncle Willie's for a little bit, an incarnation of Uncle Willie's. You know, I'm not sure what's in there now, but it was there was a bookstore next to it, and there was a place called the Uptown Cafe,
Okay.
and they were doing free jazz shows there, like serious people. They would like people. I don't know if you know the Julian Priester, trombonist, and Connie Crothers, pianist, and all these serious Rashid Baker, drummer. All these like pretty serious names, and I was like that's kind of what I was very much into deep jazz diving at the time, and I was like, wow, this is great, and that's part of what got me interested in the area. Snappers was up down the block.
Yep.
And they were doing shows fairly regularly a little bit after this time, but then they just kind of stopped.
Yep.
It seemed like they weren't really interested in, they didn't feel like it was worth their time or whatever for a while. They just were making enough money off just sort of the bar regulars that they.
Yeah, Travis just, when I moved here, Travis still owned the bar, and he was just not interested.
Yeah, for a little bit of time. I mean, I saw Electric Frankenstein there.
I love Electric Frankenstein.
They were great. There was a fantastic band from Warwick, New York, called Casket Architects.
Okay.
Incredible fucking band that should have been huge. They made like 3 albums. I don't know, they never really connected or got on the right. They were on Altercation Records, which was run by this guy JT, who was a bartender at Snappers, and he was a comedian. He's in Austin, Texas now. Did a fanzine called Altercation.
Yeah.
But he only, could get things to happen, up to a certain level as far as the bands on his label. But boy, they were, it was kind of like they had a 3-piece band, and they had a synthesizer that a guy did a lot of the bass lines on, and it had a very much like a thrash metal kind of edge to it, but it was still like very like raw, and like it wasn't like
that sounds very fascinating. Like synthesizer, thrash edge, like that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I'll try and find some links. They were I don't know what they went on to do, but they should be some sort of like archival package on their stuff, because they were ahead of their time. But I saw the Murder Junkies played there, one of those later sketchy Murder Junkies.
Yeah. I've played with the Murder Junkies, so.
Well, the guitarist in my band, he's in the Stabbing Jabs with me. My current band, he was also the other guitarist in the Chrome Cranks. It was William Weber, who was in the last lineup of the Murder Junkies.
Okay. If it was 20 years ago, then I played with them.
Oh, it was longer than that.
Okay.
30 years,
like,
something.
There was some version of Murder Junkies that was on tour in the early 2000s that I played with.
Yeah, I mean, I think he played with him a couple times since then, but
Okay.
he's but yeah, I mean that was happening because he moved to New York City a little bit ahead of me in 1992, and then he answered an ad in the Village Voice that when they were looking for a guitar player, and he showed up to the audition, and he's a fantastic player. I mean, he went to Berkeley and Guitar Institute of Technology, and so he showed up, and Dee Dee Ramone is also there to audition.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah, and Dee Dee was
amazing.
Dee Dee was like not near the guitar player he was, but he was Dee Dee Ramone. So they were trying to figure out having both in the band, and then after that audition, I guess Dee Dee never showed up again. He was kind of so he was playing. So William was, and it's in that Hated documentary that the Hated, that documentary about Gigi Allen.
I actually have not seen that. I wrote a paper on Gigi Allen for my abnormal psychology class. 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. He was what I wrote my paper on. So.
Yeah. Well, I have a co-write on a Gigi Allen song. So there was,
No shit. Which one?
Well, it wasn't the lyrics, original lyrics and title were not mine, but it ended up becoming a song called "Fuck Off, We Murder."
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was an early Chrome Crank song that kind of threw aside because the band Chrome Cranks were kind of more of a blues based, like
Yeah.
sort of and sort of a there was kind of more of a arty sort of experimental edge, I guess you'd say, to what we did. But it was a song that I felt was like kind of too orthodox, so we chucked it aside, and then the Murder Junkies were trying to come up with new material, and William was playing in both bands, and he said, "Oh, do you mind if we use this song?" And I was like, "All right, well, just give me credit, So
speaking of the Chrome Cranks, like I mentioned to the bass player in the band that I'm working with right now, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be meeting up with Peter Aaron," and I, yada yada yada. He's like, "Oh yeah, I met him when he was DJing. He played in the Chrome Cranks," and I'm like, "Oh okay."
Wow! I DJ'd with. Well, he met something that I was DJing at.
Yeah, he came up. He met you when you were DJing. He came up. He's like, he said how nice you were. He he came up and approached you, and you were like, very personable. He's like, yeah, he was a really nice guy.
Oh yeah, that's nice to hear. I try,
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that's what I think matters in the world, right? When someone can mention your name out of nowhere, and somebody's like, oh yeah, I met him once, at a reason where he had no reason to give me the time of day per se, right? But his memory was like, oh yeah, he was super nice. I went up and talked to him while he was spinning, and he was really nice to me. So
yeah, well, I hopefully I've evolved. I know there's been points earlier in my life, and during the height of the crazy Chrome Cranks era, I could be kind of self-absorbed and abrasive, and but I've tried to become a more reflective person, and try and put the good vibes out there. But
I mean, you've always been very kind when I met you, so I was not surprised to hear that. So
likewise, very nice. Thank
so
you.
it's when you move to a new area, and like I did, and you feel like you have a background and you kind of know what you're doing, it's always something you always feel like you're proving yourself because you're coming to a new world where no one knows who you are or what you've done, and it's always nice when I feel like I'm welcomed by somebody. You made me feel welcome, so thank you.
Yeah, well, I think we all need to do that as much as we can, obviously, So cool.
So this year, has there been a band that has blown your mind this year?
Yes.
Like a band that you've never seen before, and you went out and you saw them and said, "Boom!" Like what was that?
Well, it was a band I haven't gotten to see, but I'm obsessed with this band from Nova Scotia, from Halifax, called the Boojums. You familiar with them?
No.
Boojums, which I guess is it's a Lewis Carroll reference.
Okay.
And they're I wouldn't say they're reinventing the wheel, but they are I guess doing something that seems so primal and obvious and basic that it feels like a forgotten art.
Okay.
It's it's melodic, hooky, poppy punk stuff, but as soon as you hear the song, you want to hear it immediately after.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So their first album just came out, self-titled first album, but they kind of built themselves up by releasing YouTube videos, at intervals, and they're all shot in their basement on looks like old VHS with a straight-ahead camera shot, the same camera angle, and it's very minimal and stark, and it totally fits the music.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's not too far away. I'm going to reach out to. I'm going to bring them down to play a show.
That would be
Done.
amazing, man. I mean,
Done.
they're they should be. They're like saviors of rock and roll for me at the moment. They're like.
I mean, I'm booking at the Colony now, so the Colony is, and I have a show coming up in June at Empire Underground in Albany. So
great.
I have two venues that are big enough that for a band of what I imagine they are. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't. They have a really good buzz going, especially in England now. It looks like I just saw that they announced a European tour coming up.
Good.
But
Nope.
nothing in the States. I don't know. Obviously,
In 24 hours, I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey,
All right.
I was on this podcast interview with Peter Aaron, yada, 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 da, 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 da. He named you as his band of 2025. I checked you out. I loved you. I've already looked at their Instagram page. I didn't mean to look at something while we were talking, but I had to. But I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's like this. This looks like my thing. They're like, oh yeah, we were influenced by Nirvana, and I got to tell you, I admit I'm a huge Nirvana fan.
Oh,
Like,
I mean, yeah. I mean, no matter how big they got, I always loved them. I always thought they were,
well,
they
they
were
were the band that made me like put down metal and pick up punk rock in the end, right?
and for so many other people too.
Yeah.
They changed. People when a band becomes like not your little secret band anymore, like it's easy to feel like, I've seen that happen, with Am on the Sniffers, like people ragging on them, but it's just like buddy, like they're for real and they write
Allow
great.
them to be the great band that they are.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
there's things that when you get to a certain level in the entertainment field, there's going to be like things that, the presentation will change, blah, 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 But yeah, even like Smells Like Teen Spirit, no matter how many times I heard it, I never got sick of it.
There was no reason to expect that album was going to be a hit.
No, I
Not at
remember when
all.
that,
They didn't write it with expectation of it being a hit.
yeah,
In
exactly.
no way, shape, or form. It just it happened.
Yeah, well, I remember that what happened because we used to go to there was a dance club that we would go to that was kind of more sort of like the wax tracks stuff, which was not really music that I was that interested in. But it was a place to meet girls or whatever. And one week that last song of the night they played fucking smell like Teen Spirit, and I was like, all right, well this is a level of demographic that this is totally feels out of place in.
Yeah.
These people are loving it. They obviously didn't even know they were waiting for something like this. So that was a key moment of like, okay, things have shifted, things have changed
Yep.
here.
And there's only so many times in my life when I've heard a band and say, "This has changed everything." Right? The closest I can think of is like when I first heard Against Me, and I was like, "Okay, this has changed everything. I've never heard a band doing this. This is beyond phenomenal." And yes, they changed their sound as albums went out, and Lauren Jane Grace is different now. But I don't care what they did in
Yeah.
that moment in time, how they played, what they wrote about. It
Yeah,
mattered
you
to me
gotta,
so much.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of it's timing for, I remember when the White Stripes initially came out, I was like, I liked it, but I just felt like, well, I like this okay, but this isn't like changing my world as it seems to
Sure.
be for other people because it was sort of like I've heard the Cramps, I've heard these bands that they
Yes,
were
yes, yes.
and from what I understand they had they liked the Chrome Cranks too, at least Jack White did, but it's like, hey, they're not making music for me, they're making music for people that are a few years younger than me that haven't heard the Cramps or the Stooges,
Sure.
and they're coming out of this like the only thing they knew until the day before was some slick like pop music, whatever was happening then, and this is like a revelation to them. So you gotta keep that in mind, and and like since then I got more, obviously got deeper into the White Stripes music and have understand and appreciate and more now, but that's one thing that I think with age you come to realize that you need to afford things that space and existence.
Yes.
Just
Age-
like
I get it. I was having a discussion with Des, my sound guy, about No Effects. And they're a band I've not listened to very frequently for years, but he still loves them. And they're like, oh yeah, my favorite album is, Heavy Petting Zoo. And I was like, oh my God, that's why I stopped listening to them. He's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, this is like, oh, those albums are okay, but I heard it all before. It's like, well, you only heard it all before because they did it first.
yeah, it's like
And it's
like
okay. When we grew up, like we're like 20-year difference between us.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and I know like a lot of people that were a little older than me when in 1981 or whatever when I was hardcore was like taking root and I was getting so falling in love with that music. There was people that were a few years older was sort of well this is just like a sped up version of the Ramones or the Dead Boys, like we're but it's like I didn't get to experience those bands as they were happening, out of nowhere like you did. So this, I can be part of this, and this is like, the connection is different, and that's going to always be there, and that's one thing I think just comes with time and staying immersed in music. That sort of that consciousness and awareness only comes with that. So hopefully,
It's interesting you mentioned the Dead Boys because when I think of you in my head as a huge Dead Boys fan.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Like
I mean,
it's just in my head, just from our conversations and the music that I've heard by you. I was like, if you're not a huge Dead Boys fan, then I have no idea who I am in myself.
Oh, absolutely! Like one of my faves. A great moment was I never got to see them, but I interviewed for my fanzine the Lords in the New Church on their first tour in '82, and this club in Cincinnati called Bogart's that I ended up working at later on. I sat on a couch in the dressing room, squeezed in between Stiv Bators and Brian James and Dave Trigona from Sham '69. Was their bass player, and they and interviewed for my fanzine. Yeah, and I still have. Stiv Bators wrote out. Oh, you should read these books. He wrote out a list of books that I should read.
That's amazing.
Fiction. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then and then I ended up. I remember the first hardcore band I saw was before that because it was before I moved to Cincinnati. But I saw I went to see Cheetah Chrome at a spot, place called 2+2, which was on Second and Houston. It was a loft. It was like a DIY underground illegal venue. And the opening band was the False Prophets, who I'd heard on WNYU, on Tim Summers' Noise the Show. It was originally called Oi the Show, and then it became Noise the Show. And that was like the first New York hardcore show. So I knew the False Prophets from that. So we saw a flyer. We were in the city, my buddies and I, and we said, and they're opening for Cheetah Chrome. So we went to that, and I remember seeing Cheetah Chrome in the wheel, the stairwell of this building, and I was like, oh man, Cheetah Chrome, yeah. And he's like, stick around, man. I'm better than I am on record.
And that is why I do live albums because the best bands are better live than they are on record.
It's definitely a very different kind of, it's a different kind of presentation and performance. It's totally.
There are some bands like, and I say this with all my love to the Lousketeers, your albums are very good, but your live album that you did with me is the best thing you've ever done, and it's almost sold out. And if you don't repress it, you're crazy because you are a live band. Because some bands are live bands.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you gotta be a live band before anything else.
Oh yeah, because what's the point then?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to make like a studio oriented record, if you're like Brian Wilson or whatever, but it's like you have to have the songs down, and they have to be lived in for a little bit before you get the best studio recordings of them. So in order to do that, it's got to start with the performance, and
I do the live albums, and I've recorded bands I've never seen live before, but it's always a gamble because I'm like, oh, I'll record you, it's free. If I like it and you like it, we'll do something with it. But sometimes, I've listened to them on the thing, and maybe I've watched like a 30-second clip on YouTube. It's hard to be a great live band.
I agree. I mean, one thing obviously, everyone has good and bad nights, and and maybe there's a certain point where they need to play out a little more before they do a real live record. But it's I don't know, a lot of a lot of bands. It seems like they're they need to I don't know. I don't want to tell people what to do or bands what to do, but I
Yeah,
just mean like
yeah.
there's a lot of where the performances they're kind of like it's kind of like a it's a little too casual or whatever, so I think that's a fun. It's always nice when a band is like really in the moment and really doing it, and I
I
think
want to be
that's
captured.
yeah
I want you
yeah
to like. I did 36 shows this year. Figure on
wow
average, I had 4 bands. I vended at 5 festivals. Played a couple shows. So I've seen a lot of bands. So you better like get up there and show me something.
yeah. Well, it's interesting. You mentioned No Fraud before that you play with them. That
Yeah.
other guitarists in the Stabbing Jabs, Chris Donnelly, who was in Sluggo, the Cincinnati hardcore pioneering band I mentioned earlier, with me, he's in No Fraud right now.
I love No Fraud. They were so
Yeah,
great
yeah.
live.
He sent me some videos. There, yeah, and the front man is a very entertaining dude.
Yeah. My one of my former students was at the show because I taught like high school and middle school, and he got his nose broken during the No Fraud show. But
Oh,
rather than go home, he had me fix it, and then he went back out.
wow. Oh, well, that's about as punk as you can get right
That's
there.
pretty much it. I was like,
Yeah.
what happened? Like, I got my nose broken, and my former 10th grade teacher fixed my nose.
At a punk show that he put on, right?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's you can't ask for a more complete circle of life right there.
that's it. I was like, done.
Yeah, there you go, man. Right on. Sign of a good show.
It was. I've never had my nose broken at a show, but
Yeah, I'm okay with not having had that.
as am I.
I sprained my ankle really bad at one and it was laid up for a while, but
I'll go to the fest down in Florida, and my buddy Jason, he's a couple years older than me. It almost happens every weekend. Whether it's Comeback Kid or Bane or Kill Your Idols. I was like, I'm going to go up front. I was like, you don't really want to go up front. He's like, I'm going to go up front. I'm like, all right, you're 53 years old. I'm not going to tell you what to do. And he goes up front. He's like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. I was like, yeah, because you're old, dude.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's like 22-year-old guys that are out there that are like beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, it's like you did your duty. You served.
I
Thank you for
served my time.
yeah. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
You don't need to prove anything anymore.
No,
So
no.
don't.
It's funny, during the Bane this last fest, he sent a video, and I watched the video, and I was like, oh, that's when the guy jumped off the stage and kneed you in the face.
Yeah.
I was like, that had to be fun. I wouldn't want to do with that. My glasses would have gotten broken.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get to be older. You maybe in the moment think. I mean, like I was in a rollover car
Yeah.
accident once. And the only thing I was thinking, going through my head when it was happening, was like, this is going to make my insurance rates go up. That was
Yes!
what I.
Right?
That's the kind of thing you think about when you're
Yeah.
older. That when you were 22, you probably wouldn't have thought
Yeah.
about.
Like 10 years ago, there was this band Wolfface doing an Avail cover set, and Avail is one of my favorite bands. And it wasn't even a big stage, like 3 feet off the ground. And I jumped off, and I did a crowd surf, and then I got dropped, and my back twisted. And then, like, that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday was Halloween. And I was struggling to take my kid trick-or-treating because every time I stepped on an uneven pavement, my back hurt. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
it. I can go to
cool.
shows, I can play shows, but that's
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Unless
yeah.
I start
Well,
going to the gym 5 days a week and like making sure that I'm in good shape, but I'm not going to do that.
yeah, yeah. Well, you definitely gotta, you gotta take care of yourself when to be able to still be here doing what you do. So,
So, how about your band? I know some we don't usually talk about bands, but like, I'm asking, when can I get your band out this way to play a show?
well,
To
we'll
get you on
see.
record here.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of after doing other stuff and dealing with overall insanity, we're starting to put things back together. Knock on wood, we're going to do a show in Cincinnati at the end of March. And our bass player's in another band that's doing a tour, like kind of right after that date. So yeah, we're hoping to like pick it back up after that and get out this way. So I will keep you in the loop.
I would like to hear about that. So
yeah.
Are there any shows that were really memorable for you this year that you either just saw or wrote about?
Boy, I've seen some good ones. Actually, I just saw Marky Ramone
At the Bearsville Theater, right?
That was great. Yeah. Going to see Ron Carter in Socrates tomorrow night. The bass player who he played with Miles Davis. He was in the
Nice.
'65 quintet, and he's getting up there. So I want to make sure I see him.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow night after that show, my friends Talia Zedek and Chris Brokaw, who are also in the band Come, which was one of my favorite bands in the '90s. They're both playing with their own bands at Tubby's, so I'm planning.
Okay. Friday night, you said?
Tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow night. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so I'm planning to go to Ron Carter and then go to see Talia and Chris after that.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see. I mean, who else have I seen? So the Lemon Twigs not long ago at the Bearsville, they were great.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's been it's been a whirlwind.
It's hard to like keep it all straight. Like I had a blog called Scene Point Blank. It's like, oh, what's your 5 favorite albums of the year? I was like, I don't know. I was like, there's a lot of good stuff that came out. I had to limit it down to vinyl because that's what I really consider a real release. And I mean, no disrespect to bands that release digital albums.
Right.
But
on.
like,
I'm the same way. Yeah.
No disrespect. It's fine.
No disrespect. It's just yeah.
I need a physical product in my hand.
Yeah.
I'm not confident that Spotify will always exist or Bandcamp will always exist. And I'm past the point of buying MP3s and downloading them and losing them when my laptop or iPod dies or whatever. I'm like, I want physical medium.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I get sent, being on the journalistic side of things, I mean, I get sent so much stuff and it just gets, files, and they just get it, pushed down to my inbox and forgotten about or accidentally deleted. But if I've got something physically in front of me, that's a reminder,
Yeah. It's funny you say that too, because like I'll send records out to review to like Maximum Rock and Roll, and they still all exist online and whatnot, and Razor Cake. But like someone's like, oh no, we don't want a record. Just send us the digital download. I was like, okay, I can, but like,
yeah. I mean, if that's what they're used to and they're on top of it in that way, that's.
But great. I'd rather, because I want you to, because like I take time to put the records together. I want you to see the whole thing. I want you to see if it's a color record and the insert. Or like I want you to.
Yeah, to me, it's
experience the whole thing.
Yeah, unless it's something like a physical release like that. It's great if digital is the only way to hear something, but it doesn't feel like a real. Somebody really went the full mile to do something unless they made the effort to somehow get out physical, But I don't mean to sound, because that's obviously it costs money to do that, I mean, I've done a couple of these compilations for it's a joint release between Hozak Records and Shake It Records. Called We Were Living in Cincinnati, and they're two volumes of early Cincinnati punk, like lost, rare, obscure, mainly stuff that's not really known outside of Cincinnati, if even within Cincinnati, some of it. And there was so much stuff that I dug up that ended up having like bonus downloads that came with the records because you only have obviously you can only fit so
Yeah,
much
it's
on.
like 44 minutes basically
Yeah.
total.
So I so
45, 46 if you stretch it the fuck out.
yeah, yeah. So I, like I felt like in that case with these things, like, just in order to make sure that they got heard and didn't get lost forever, that was the only way to do it, and gets it's incentive for people to buy the vinyl as well because then they get the bonus downloads
Sure.
with it. So there's situations like that where I feel like it's definitely makes sense.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like, I'll do the releases and I'll ask bands if they're going to stream or have downloads. Some say yes, some say no. They're like, what do you want? I was like, I don't care. I press vinyl records.
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
use your digital downloads or your Spotify's as promotion, but it's your music. You decide how you want to present it. We've
sure.
agreed to release a vinyl. Beyond that, what you do digitally is on you. I'm not going to
Yeah,
do it for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Every band has their own je ne
yeah,
sais quoi, whatever it is, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not on
and
me to tell. I'm not that kind of record label. I'm the sort of guy's like, no, you do whatever you feel fits who you are.
yeah, yeah,
Spotify
and
is evil to you, then don't fucking touch it. I don't care.
right, right on. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and then that gives them an avenue that they can, an outlet that they can manage relatively easily on their own if they decide to do it, and it gives them that so it's like bonus like icing kind of on the cake.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, I get it. It's certainly like I'm sure if I was in high school with my band, I would have put my shit up on Spotify. And I'd have been so stoked if anybody listened to it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No.
It would have meant the world to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Totally. And if that's the only way to hear something, I mean, I certainly use streaming. Well, I don't use Spotify anymore, but I certainly use. I mean, if it's the only way to hear something, but I use it just to find out what it is and take it from there more.
Yeah,
But also,
I'm torn up about all that. Like, I've always been pretty much a anti-corporate oligarchy person, but like, it's all oligarchy.
yeah. 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 I mean,
Like,
you do
what
you do what you
Apple
can.
Music, Spotify, it is what it is. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
I
bite
mean,
the hand that feeds, is what Propaganda said. So like, you put out the music and say, hey,
yeah.
the possible good from putting out radical music is more important than just not letting people hear it.
Yeah, well, obviously there's different there's this Q buzz, is that a Cobuzz or whatever that other
Yes.
and I've been hearing good things about it. So there's other places to uh, to put your stuff out.
Well, that's like there's a website called Freak Scene DIY. That's like old school message boards from like 30 years ago, sort of stuff.
Wow.
And I'm exploring that because I'm like, I use Instagram a lot, but obviously I'm not a fan of like Meta or things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah, it's.
but it
Do
but it is what it is, right? Like, I
yeah,
run an online record store. I don't know that I would sell anything without social media. I'd be
yeah,
relying purely on my distributor to sell stuff.
yeah. No, it's all. I mean, there's obviously great and necessary uh, you know elements to that. So, I don't see any reason to. I mean, yeah. I mean, I stuff is there to be used, and you use in the best you can or whatever.
Yep.
I'm just someone that's like I spend most of my days in front of my computer. So I don't want to listen to music on my computer. I want to be able to go down to the other room and listen to it on my
Yep.
stereo.
Yep.
Or else,
Exactly.
I have an older car, so that I
Yep.
want to pop CD and obviously yes, I like to have the to me the physical part of it, the art and especially liner notes and the packaging, like that's all important. I want to have, to me it's a complete experience like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still remember, like, I would sit down and I would put the CD in and I would open up the booklet and I would listen to like a propaganda song and read the lyrics along while they sang it and
Yeah.
really absorb it both intellectually because I thought the lyrics had value and musically, I would kind of listen to it once without the lyrics. Listen, I was like, it was an experience, not just like, oh, I'm going to put it on while I'm typing up like an email to someone. Like, no,
Yeah, I mean,
there was a purpose to it. It was
yeah, I mean,
purpose.
it's great to be able to hear something just to hear it, but it's way better to have, some quote unquote vehicle that is meant,
Yeah.
bespoke like product to deliver that particular music. It just
Yeah.
makes it the whole thing better.
It still bums me out that cars don't have CD players because I have all these CDs
Me
that I
too.
can't listen
Cassettes
to.
too. Yeah,
It, it,
cassettes.
it kills me. I'm like, yeah, I have a whole bunch of cassettes too. And of
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
mixtapes that I used to make and everything like that. I used to do this weird guide that I would say, okay, today is December 10th. So I'm going to go to every 12th like CD I have or tape, and I'm going to take the 10th song off everything and I'm going to put it on like a mixtape. And I'd make mixtapes based on the date of the day. And then I'd like, take it. I was like, I don't know. It was like a way of forcing me to like
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure. Because I have like 400 records. You know how hard it is to listen to 400 records in a year? You,
I've got a lot more than that, man.
I'm sure you do. And
You know,
like you
yeah,
can't listen to them all. So the
yeah,
beauty of that
yeah,
mixtape is like you could just pull stuff and have it and put it in
yeah,
there and
yeah. Even I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I buy so much stuff like nonstop. And there's a lot of stuff I have that I might very well never get to listen to, and maybe that's something psychologically unsound about that. But it's in I'm surrounded by it. It's in my physical presence, and it feels good to be in the middle of it. And plus, I'm saving it from yeah, some other person who has cool taste might, maybe I'm preventing them from getting it. But probably a lot of times there's a lot of things that are just like going to sit there forever, and I'm bringing them together, and
I have a section in front of my record player where I'm not allowed to move the records away from the record player until I've listened to the record twice.
oh, that's good.
So
Yeah.
I have like a whole area of like this is a to be listened to. I mean, sometimes records are there for 2 or 3 months
Oh, I've got
because
stuff like years
I
going
mean to
back
be
years.
listened to. I don't mean to like put on a
Yeah.
record and sit there and do my schoolwork. I
Or
mean to
concentrate
be
on it.
listened to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a physical fetishist, and proudly so. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's part of it. It's important to me. It's like it's important to save this stuff and keep it together, and so that for the greater good,
For the
and
greater good. Well, you had mentioned keeping a record, like keeping a what did you say earlier? Like keeping a not a discography, but like a collection. Like because that's what Discord did, right? They recorded everything throughout DC,
right, yeah,
and
sure, yeah, yeah,
I document, right? Like I used to be a history teacher, and part of the reason that I do live albums is like I want to document that moment, and even if only 15 people were there,
yeah,
it
yeah.
mattered to those 15 people. And I've done like 50 records in 5 years because I'm documenting these moments that have happened in life.
Yeah, I mean, like
And
with
100
these,
years from now, these records are going to still exist when I'm dead.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's with these Cincinnati comps that I did. I mean, there was that stuff would have not been, a lot of stuff would have never been heard. I mean, because I dug up some recordings that were never released, bands that never released records on there, and besides very rare singles and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a whole, if I hadn't have done it, and I'm not trying to be self-aggrandizing, I did it because it was important, and that's why I
Yes.
did it. If I hadn't have done it, that stuff would have been, a lot of stuff would have been lost forever. I mean, there was this one band from Cincinnati called Mexican Pig Torture, and they had this song called "I Love Kmart," which was something they
I
recorded.
remember Kmart, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a song that they recorded it in their basement, and the hardcore show on the community station played it, and it became kind of a
Sure.
local hit within that scene. But they never released it on a record, and it was forgotten about. And when I was putting together this comp, I was like, "Oh, Mexican Pig Torture, I Love Kmart. It's got to be on that. That's like a lost legend.
Yeah.
People still talk about it, but it would have never come out. It would have been, and now like people in Japan are buying this comp, and people in England are buying this comp, and there's, and they're also like getting it in the context of like there was this whole scene here with bands with divergent styles going on, and this Cincinnati's not a big city, obviously. It's like
Sure.
all this shit would have been lost, and just like it's important for people to know. They know about L.A. and New York and in London or whatever.
Yeah, but in those smaller towns, there was also shit happening.
Yeah, and it would have been lost forever if someone doesn't like put it together and present it in that way. I mean, just so I feel like it's important to do. It's bigger than just me doing it. Or,
Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons. Like, I'll put out records by bands that don't tour. Yeah, they never leave their town, but their music is good.
Yeah. There's a lot of. I mean, I've seen so many bands like that just like,
They for whatever reason they can't tour. Band members can't tour or whatnot or other. I'm like, and they're hometown heroes or whatever. But like, that record needs to be heard.
Yeah,
and it needs to be out there in the world.
Yeah, people need to people that it will hopefully. I mean, part of the reason I says hopefully, the idea is that it will inspire other people to pick the ball up and keep things going and put their own twist on it and pass it along to the next generation.
And that is the beauty of music right there.
Yeah. That's why we do this shit. Besides expressing ourselves, what we want to get our feelings out, it's also like, it's doing it, like I said, for the greater good, or else.
Well, I mentioned the kid who had his nose broken. He became a drummer, which I'm a drummer, and I actually put out his records. So,
there you go.
Band. So, like, that's the whole point of life, right?
Yeah.
It's that more people do the same thing that we're doing.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yes, exactly. It's bigger than us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's all about the community and pushing things forward. And I'm always excited to see what the next crop of kids are going to do and what they're going to come up with. And I think it's really fascinating to me because when I was a kid, the music I had was, like you said, radio. Or I would like meet a buddy and I would take every tape he had and copy them. And my dual tape deck, and I would learn whatever that kid
tape.
had.
The whole tape trading thing we would do.
But now kids, like between like School of Rocks, rock academies, and the internet, like I'll go see bands, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're mixing so much stuff together that I would have never even been aware of. At 19. They're able to like follow themselves on a rabbit hole and expose themselves to a spider web of music. I'm so excited to see, as much as I don't like digital media per se. What that digital media is going to allow these kids to create. Because their horizons are so much broader and expansive than mine ever was.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's terrific. I mean, that's to be someone that's younger that is learned about all this cool stuff that was really hard to learn about when we were that age. That's definite progress, and that's
if you want to mix Queen with the Cro-Mags, go right ahead. I don't know how that would work, but do it.
I mean, that's and like I said, I mean, I've meeting like younger folks that are into like really niche out experimental, super non-mainstream stuff, and they learn about it at the same time as whatever, roughly the same time as whatever the pop stuff that's happening, and then they figure it all out. It's just like, hey, I mean, that's an advantage,
My youngest kid, she's a freshman in high school. Over the summer, she played me one song. I was like, what is this? It's like, it's K-pop dubstep. I was like, K-pop dubstep. Those are two genres that I don't listen to at all, let alone put together.
But,
But I couldn't stop listening to it. So I'm so fascinated by this combination.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, hey, that's interesting. I mean, that's. That's wild. It's wild. Good, man.
I have taken up 90 minutes of your time, sir.
Oh man, it's been great, man. Thanks so much for. Get a plug in for my book.
Oh yeah, put a plug in for your book. Right. I gotta buy your book next time I see you, or I'll just buy it on Amazon. What's the best? What gives you more? What helps you most?
In terms of buying the books,
Yeah.
I steer people toward the local independent bookstores.
All right. They have it at the bookstore in Woodstock.
I just was told that they were ordering it.
All right, cool.
So,
I'll swing by there. Rick Ocasek, I think he recorded an album by a band called the Shakedowns from DC. Their bass player Dave Elliott was one of my groomsmen, and he was briefly in my band The Twats way back in the day. They were an amazing band. I thought they were going to save rock and roll, but like most bands, they broke up.
wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, it happens to the best. I'll look them up. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were phenomenal. They were doing that great early 2000s garage rock revival, Rocket
Okay.
from the Crypt sort of stuff,
Oh, nice.
mixed
Yeah.
with like
Yeah.
International Noise Conspiracy and Elvis Costello, like all
Wow.
just rolled into one, like just
Sounds like a great mix right there.
oh yeah. And they were like, we are a rock and roll band, and like they own that, like they had the persona, like they had the stage presence. Their shows were just they were just excellent. I
Wow.
miss them as
Wow.
a band. They were one of those bands that I was like, yep. I was in a band with that guitarist, and he kicked me out of the band, but I don't care because they're such a good band.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, I didn't know Rick Ocasek had produced them. I'll have to
Yeah,
yeah, follow up on that.
that would have been like 2003, 2004, I believe.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, he was
he did a lot of stuff, I think.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, we definitely was someone that, was really into hearing new music and a lot of stuff that was maybe more challenging than people might expect if they only know him from the Cars
Yep.
or his solo records, Deep Cat, and it was a real interesting adventure to
In
find out.
many ways, I always kind of thought of him almost as like the Brian Wilson of the '80s.
Oh yeah, yeah, I could
I
see
could,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Definitely very studio oriented guy.
yes.
Preferred that to playing live
You're
and
playing
tour.
exactly right. Like as like he was a studio guy. He played live, but he really was more comfortable in the studio.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he retreated more into the studio as time went on. But
So,
yeah.
well, thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. I will make sure that all the links to all the Peter's great stuff, whether it's his music or his books or his writing with the Chronogram, etc., is all in here. But I can't thank you enough for listening. And Peter, I cannot thank you enough for giving me all your time today. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna get ready to have my radio show tonight.
We didn't even talk about that. So he's got a radio show on like Woodstock, Kingston Radio, right?
It's on Radio Kingston and WGXC. It's called Go Go Kitty, and it is on from midnight to 2 a.m. Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And it's
That is an
archived.
amazingly difficult time. I am so proud of you.
Well, I'm a night dog anyway, so but it's archived at radiokingston.org, WGXC.org, and I have a Facebook page called Go Go Kitty Radio Show and Podcast with Peter Aaron. The archives are there too.
I'm going to have Peter send me all those links so that I can put them all in the show description, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Podcast, whatever it is. You can get it all. So thank you, Peter. It's been a pleasure, buddy.
Thanks so much, Scott. I'll see you around the hood.
You got it, my brother.
All right, man.